Hello class, how you doing today? We are going to be working today with our strategy that we chose, which is thinking aloud. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do teaching thinking aloud. That's mostly what I like to do when we're reading a new section. When we're talking about a new subject in class, I like to use that thinking aloud so it's fast. The students are thinking before the reading, during the reading, and after the reading. They're always using critical thinking. So first we have to identify the problem or topic you'll be exploring. So today we're gonna be talking about, in the class, we're gonna be reading this fotonovela right here, Una cena romántica. Una cena romántica. So we're gonna identify, as soon as we read the title, it says Una cena romántica. So as soon as we're reading, we identify what is the story about. What do you think the story is going to be about when it says Una cena romántica? So I'm gonna be asking the students, what do you think is the story going to talk about? Based on the title, this is Spanish 1. So based on the title, the students need to use critical thinking by looking at the words that they already know and also looking at the pictures because it's Spanish 1, so they don't have a very extent vocabulary on what Spanish is. So what they do to think, what is this going to be about? What's the story going to be about? So they look at the pictures, look at the title, they see menus, they see food, they see, as you can see right here, it looks dark, so we know we're talking about food. So far, we know we're talking about food. So what type of food? It's a breakfast. It's a dinner. Again, using a critical thinking, we're gonna look. How does it look like? Is it a breakfast? Is it a dinner? So we see wine glasses. We see menu. We see artificial light. So we know it's at night. So therefore, we're talking about dinner. Dinner. And then romantica. What does romantica mean? If you use your critical thinking, romantic, romantica, romantic, using critical thinking, we're gonna connect those two words, romantic, romance. So therefore, we know that is gonna be talking about a romantic dinner. We see a couple here. As you can see, there's two people, menus, we see candles. So we know that we're gonna be talking about a romantic dinner. So I'm gonna be asking, what do you think the story is going to be about? Based on what you see, based on the words that you already know, what do you think the story is going to be about? What do you think it's gonna be talking about? Then we're gonna start with the story. As you can see, that story has different characters and it has what each of them are saying. So we're gonna start by reading the story. For thinking aloud, I have on my classroom a few things that I like to do. So before reading the class, before we start the reading, I ask, what is the purpose of the reading? I ask the students so-and-so, what do you think is the purpose of this reading? The readings usually come after the lesson. So a student might say, is to practice our vocabulary. That's what the story is about. To practice our vocabulary. I asked another student, what could be another purpose for the story? It will be to practice our pronunciation of the words we learn during this section. So now, what is the text form? The text form is a fotonovela, and as we can see by the text, we see that it's a formal conversation using the usted form because it's a romantic dinner, so we know it's a formal conversation. The text form has to be formal using the usted form rather than the vos or the tu form. Now, also, before reading, text features. What is the text features? Tell us. So it's tell us there's going to be a very soothing text. It's going to be a romantic text. It's going to be a lot of words from the food vocabulary because it's talking about romantic dinner. Based on dinner, we know that it's going to be talking about food. So therefore, it's going to be a lot of food vocabulary, type of dishes, type of drinks in different cultures. Now, during the reading, we're going to be talking about, let's start with the reading. No sé qué pedir. ¿Qué me recomiendas? De Manuel goes, no estoy seguro. Las chuletas de cerdo se ven muy buenas. Maru, ¿vas a pedirlas? Miguel, no sé. Miguel, qué bonitos. ¿Quién te los dio? Maru, me los compró un chico muy guapo e inteligente. Miguel, ¿es tan guapo como yo? Mauro, sí, como tú, guapísimo. Camarero, ¿les gustaría saber nuestras especiales del día de hoy? Maru, sí, por favor. Camarero, para el entremés tenemos un ceviche de camarón. De plato principal ofrecemos bistec con verduras a la plancha. So based on our reading, now we know that it's a romantic dinner. They're asking for food. So what I do during the reading, I stop right here, mid the story, and I ask student 3, can you please summarize the story? Summarize what this is talking about. What are your assumptions of the story? Okay, the assumption could be they are on a date. They are on a date. Or another assumption could be they are celebrating their anniversary. That's another assumption that we see based on what we read so far. It could be a date. It could be an anniversary celebration. It could also be one of their birthdays. One of the two people in the dinner could have or should have birthdays. So those are our 3 branching options on our thought process. Our thought process thinking, okay, so based on what we read, our assumptions are that they are on a date, they are celebrating something like a birthday or like an anniversary. Another assumption could be they are just having normal dinner. They are just got engaged. They're just got engaged. They are still on the honeymoon phase. So they are just having a normal dinner. Now, if we pay close attention on the pictures, do we see that right here that the waiter is holding a ring? So one might think or have the assumption using critical thinking that this could be an engagement dinner or a proposal dinner where Miguel is going to propose to Maru. That could be another option, another assumption. So our branching assumptions, a minimum of 3 branching options in your thought process. Minimum of 3 branches. So we have a romantic dinner, we have a celebration of anniversary, but then again, we see on picture number 7, a waiter holding the ring. So one might think that Miguel is going to propose to Maru. So during the reading, I'll be asking the students, can you please summarize what we have read so far, from Spanish to English? And we'll also ask, okay, so we see a lot of new words here. Is there any new words that you don't know? If you don't know a word or 2, then we're gonna go over it, explain the word. But by this point of the reading, most of the words should be familiar to the students because we have learned vocabulary. But I will be asking the students to tell me how many words do you not know? How many words you know so far? Or I can ask the students, can you please retell me the story on a different way? Can you retell it on your own words? So we keep reading. Los espárragos están sabrosísimos. Esta noche usted pidió el pollo, señor. Estos champiñones saben a mantequilla. El gerente se acerca. ¿Qué pasa aquí, Esteban? El camarero responde. Lo siento, señor. Me quitaron la comida. El gerente. Señor, ¿Quién es usted? ¿Qué cree que está haciendo? Juan Carlos. Felipe y yo le servimos la comida a nuestros amigos, pero desafortunadamente salió todo mal. Soy el peor camarero del mundo, lo siento, nosotros vamos a pagar la comida. Juan Carlos, ¿nosotros? Todo esto fue idea tuya, Juan Carlos. ¿Mi idea, Felipe? Señor, él es más responsable que yo. Tú y tú, vamos. So as we can see here, the story, it has nothing to do with the assumptions that we had, because it's talking about the food being not good or the food being given to someone else. But using a critical thinking, before we read, based on the pictures, based on the information that we had, we know, well, we came up with some assumptions. We came up with three branching options on our thought process. We were thinking, okay, based on the words that we know, based on the story and the pictures, since we don't quite understand the language very well, we're thinking, okay, we see two people having dinner. We see them, touching each other, as you can see in the pictures. He's touching her face. They look happy, like they're having a nice dinner. So even though it's Spanish 1 and the students may not understand everything that is going on, by thinking aloud before, during, and after the reading, then the students are always using critical thinking. Before the reading, they can see the picture, see, okay, it looks like, a romantic dinner. It looks like this is what is going to happen. Then during the reading, we start coming with assumptions. Okay, so far we know these words, we know this paragraph right here. So we start coming up with some ideas, some assumptions of what is going on. And we came up with three options. We said it could be a romantic dinner, it could be a celebration of their anniversary, or our third one was they could be an engagement party, or right here, based on the picture of the way they're holding a ring, we thought it was an engagement party, but we know that at the end, reading the whole story, learning the vocabulary words, we learned that it was a completely opposite thing. It wasn't about a romantic dinner. It was just a dinner with some friends going bad, about the food not being good, the food being given to someone else. So even though they were trying to have a romantic dinner, everything went south, nothing was good. But using our thinking aloud, using critically, we were using our critical thinking before, during the reading, to come with assumptions. But then at the end, after we read the whole story, we know that it could have been a romantic dinner if everything would have gone as planned, but then the waiter messed up the order, gave it to someone else. So we know that romantic dinner went bad. So it wasn't as we thought it was going to be based on the pictures, but we came out with that by using our thinking aloud thinking. Because it's Spanish 1, students don't know the language, so we always have to be engaging with them. So what do you think is going on? What do you think happened? Based on these words that and the picture, what do you think is going on? And that is my presentation. Thank you.